Good evening. Keep us up the cash. Gary B, the casual comic guy here. And guys, today I am really fortunate to have a lot of great guests here with me on my panel. And we have Sleepy Reader Damien. How you doing tonight, Damien?
Greetings. Wearing my
We
new
have a
favorite
comic.
t-shirt.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. We have a comic bookworm Naman. How you doing, Naman?
Hey guys.
And of course, we have the OG himself, Metarog. How you doing, Roger?
Great, Gary. Greeting Four Color fans. Great to be here talking about one of my favorite movies of all time. Ooh.
Same here. It's one I watch quite often. And we're going to get into it. So what I wanted to do today is just basically talk about the importance of this movie, why the themes that are in this movie are still relevant today, and just I'm sure you guys had a fun time rewatching it and going back over it again. This is a movie that everyone knows me for watching The Thing about 5 to 7 times a week, right? But I also watch this movie about 3 to 4 times a month. I love this movie.
Wow, great.
And the themes in it don't get old. I still think the costume design's amazing. I think the actors are incredible. There's a lot going for this movie. And if any of you watching haven't watched this movie out there, you're missing out. It is spectacular science fiction. It doesn't get the credit it's due because it came out like a year before Star Wars, which came out and blew everyone away. But there is a lot of goodness with this film. Based on the novel by William F. Nolan and George Clayton Johnson, and loosely based, I should say, because there's a lot of differences. And we're not going to go into the novel tonight. We'll stay on the movie. We can a little, Roger, if you want to.
All right.
But I just want to talk. Really, I want to talk about how the themes in the movie are still relevant today. But we're going to just get into all of it. First, we're going to say hi to our crowd, though. So first in this evening, we have Brad. How you doing tonight, Brad? Nice to see you, sir.
Well,
Followed in by James Las Cruces. How you doing, Las Cruces?
From New Mexico.
Hola,
Phil's
James.
Treehouse, already quoting Jenny Agutter.
Yeah.
I hate outside. I hate it.
Oh, mosquitoes.
And Phil said he thinks he wants to be a runner when he grows up. The runs aren't fun. We have Hulk Collector Kevin. Oh, thank you, Kevin. Nice to see you. Who's never seen the movie. Kevin, you got to fix it, man. This is an all-time classic.
Whoa.
It deserves to be talked about with any old cinema, in my opinion.
Agreed.
We also have our resident troll here, the Jackson Roykirk. How you doing, Jackson?
Jackson.
We have Mr. Chuck Hedsey. How you doing, Chuck? Yep. Nice to see you, sir.
Words are good.
And we'll keep saying hi to people as they're getting the notifications and popping in. But before we got going, I was just going to read the synopsis real quick, and then we'll just open it up for we'll start at the beginning and the way they introduced the movie, because I think it was like super effective. A movie that was directed by Michael Anderson. And the great thing about this, and we'll get into it, but let me read the synopsis first. And so this is a 1976, and this is off IMDb. I'm not doing any of my own work on this. 1976 American science fiction action film directed by Michael Anderson. Of course, it had Michael York, Jenny Agutter, Richard Jordan, Roscoe Lee Brown, and the first role for Farrah Fawcett, and also Peter Ustinov was in it. And produced by Metro Goldwyn Mayer. And this thing had a lot of different stages before it actually saw itself being filmed. But this is a movie about a society that is a dystopian society, and it's based on a certain belief system set up by a computer in the film and a thinker in the book. But in the book, your last day was at 21, and in the movie, it's 30. A lot of reasons for the change here is because most of the actors that were in the movie were over 30 at the time, and they couldn't believe we make it 21. I think Jenny Agutter was the only one that was age appropriate in the role that she was in. But this movie just introduces a lot of concepts, things that I want to touch on tonight. Things like blind faith, reincarnation, mortality, physical and emotional belief systems, cult mentality, social duty, dismantling of said beliefs, and a computer-run society. And there's just a lot of things that were in this movie that were introduced in 1976 that are just as relevant today. But I'm going to go around and get everyone's first experience watching the movie. Damien, you were first in, so we'll start with you. When did you discover Logan's Run, sir?
I saw a movie poster for it, and my friends and I, who I think we'd just gotten our driver's licenses, went and saw the movie on our own. So it was, at that time, it was very much about horny boys being excited to see all these scantily clad women. But I loved the whole movie as a kid, or, I guess I was 16 then. Was I 16 when it came out? Maybe I was 15 and my friend had a driver's license. But anyway, so I experienced it from a very teenage point of view when I first saw it. It was kind of like I was seeing a movie my parents didn't know about.
Right, and the costumes alone were built for teenage men, especially when Jenny Agutter comes on screen. If you're not swept away by her beauty and presence, I mean, are you even alive?
I had a big crush on her. Yeah,
she is just one of, in my opinion, one of the all-time beauties, one of the underestimated beauties, and not just beautiful, but a fine actress in her own right. Like, one of the main reasons that film works is how good her acting is in it, and the chemistry between her and Michael York.
I agree, and I think she's a better actor than Michael York, to be honest. But
yeah, she's still acting today. She's amazing.
Yeah, for me, watching it now, she and Peter Ustinov are the standouts.
I still think Michael York's great. I don't think it works without him, but I can see what you're saying though.
Along with the teenage horniness, I think I loved that at the time. I loved that vision of the future. That sort of, it's both paradise and hellish. That kind of dichotomy was a big thing for me, because I think that's, at that stage in your life, you're wondering what the world's really all about, and is it a good place or a bad place, and all that kind of stuff. So that's how the movie started for me, and I have a whole different set of feelings about it watching it this time.
And in this movie too, like within the first 5 minutes, the director has established the whole world, and you know exactly what's going on. That is really efficient filmmaking. I mean, in the first 5 minutes, you learn about the world, you learn what carousel is, you learn what the society is. You learn what runners are. You learn what Sandmen are. And they do this in 5 minutes. It's amazing. It's so efficient.
Yeah. And that's really hard to do in science fiction, right? Science fiction
is
one of the hardest things, because of setting up your world is so difficult.
Naaman, what was your first dip into this movie?
Well, I'm 3 years younger than Sleepy Reader. So I was early at my games of being a teenage horniness. But think about it, the Jenny lady, she was a star right above another star, Farrah Fawcett, who will become a sex symbol for the 70s and 80s. And she was far better looking lady.
I was going to say Jenny Agutter is, to me, way above Farrah Fawcett and always has been.
And to me, much as I love Star Wars movie year after, it ruined for me. I was so disappointed in Princess Leia because she's not as hot as Jenny. I mean, you had to go to the third movie in Star Wars to, have a slave Leia appear to be hot as Jenny.
and Jenny was effortless though too. She had grace, she had style, and she had acting chops. I mean, she was the trifecta.
Yeah, and when she went out into the, I don't want to spoil it now, but when on the final outfit she had to wear, that was come on, slave Leia, no.
Yeah.
Roger, what about you, sir? What was your first experience with this film?
Well, I didn't see it, I think, until 1981, 82. I remember it was a dollar theater matinees on Saturday for sci-fi movies. And I think my mother dropped me off, and I saw like 2 or 3 in a row. And this is one, I think this was in the middle or the first one. And right away, I was like just taken aback by it, because I've always been a huge science fiction fan, even as a little kid. And like you were talking, all those different topics, kind of a few of them ran through my head. But I really liked the sort of the hidden underbelly of this, that, it was a utopian society disguised, really. It was really a dystopian society.
Right.
And it sort of led me to think about, well, what is our society really about, behind the scenes? And that kind of, again, I was about 16 or 17. So it's one of those movies that kind of gets you thinking about, your current society by, that social commentary in the movie. I'm a full-blooded, red-blooded male, but I wasn't quite as into the ladies in the movie as you guys. I didn't focus on that.
It's okay if you're a late bloomer.
And by the and by the symbolism, or by the by what the writers and the screenplayers were trying to let us know through their messages.
Right, and so
you were more mature, is what you're really saying.
Well, I don't know about that.
I know. I think he's taking a little savvy dig at us.
I don't know if you can say mature at that rate.
Now, one of the great things too, and we'll talk about it, like when this movie starts and you're getting the wide shots, I love the miniatures. I think it looks amazing. I think they still hold up today. And I was talking to Damien about it backstage before you and Naman jumped on. Mm-hmm. But watching it now, it doesn't lose any of its appeal. And it's like watching a Ray Harryhausen movie to me, where the effects still add to the movie. Like, it has a certain charm that wouldn't be there without these effects. I think probably the most jarring one these days would be Box, because he's kind of clunky.
Right.
But and when you get into this world, the main character of Logan, he's not a likable person. He's kind of has a villain aspect to him, but at the same time, you can't really consider him a villain because he's just operating on the only stuff he's ever been taught growing up. But they established in the very beginning that he still has some independent thinking that his friend Francis doesn't. Francis is just completely bought into the system all the time. He doesn't question it.
Through. Yeah.
And so I thought it was really clever that they make these two best friends, and their friendship has a lot to do throughout the whole movie. But they make them best friends, and you get both sides of the blind faith and the dismantling of faith from each character as they each discover a different belief system and discover different truths. Some people can accept the truth, some people can't. What did you guys think about how this was introduced?
You mean the belief system and the dismantling of that?
Well, just how the characters are introduced, how the world was set up, and because we'll go from that, because it's a brutal beginning, and you don't realize it when you're young. You're watching it, and you're like, oh, this is cool sci-fi stuff. But then when you watch it again when you're older, you're like, oh, wow. So we just watched a whole circle of people just get murdered. And then they went out and murdered another guy that was running.
Right.
Right. Well, exactly right.
And they were laughing as they shot on.
Yeah, they're cheering, and
the society tricked them into cheering for their friends' deaths.
Right. Well, right off the bat, you see, why the city of domes exists. Right. That you see that flash where it says there was overpopulation, pollution, and war, and that sort of triggers that. Hey, they have to control, the power, the food supply, and the population so that they can maintain. He even says it later on. I think Francis says it's one death, one birth.
Right.
So this is a very easy way of controlling that, right? Because, if they control the births and the deaths, then everything else is really inconsequential, because that is the status quo is going to be always in that range.
Right. And there's
those characters. The Sandmen. By the way, in the novel, they were sleep pods. That's why they're called Sandmen. But
right. You go to a sleep. Yeah, you go to a sleep house, and they put you out with like this drug.
There was no carousel. You just went in when you were 21, and
And I thought carousel was a brilliant thing for them to make up for the movie.
I think it was very
visual. Was great. Yeah.
And especially the costumes. Mm-hmm. You're wearing a costume that has fire on it, which is foreshadowing your demise.
Your demise, yeah. Mm-hmm.
To your question, Gary, about how they establish it at the beginning, like you say, we get Logan as someone who kind of questions things, but he's also got his best friend, and it's like they're going to the in high school, what do you call it, where they have the big get everyone together in the auditorium?
Pep rally.
They're going to a pep rally in high school, and you're with your best friend, and you don't want to disappoint him and let him down. And even though you think maybe there's something bad about the high school social situation, you don't say anything.
Yeah, peer
So
pressure.
it had that weird feeling of high school, along with it being dystopian or utopian.
And you would do things you normally wouldn't do just because your friend's there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I felt that right away kind of helps you relate to him as a character, even though you see him do awful things.
Right, and they're brilliant. Go ahead, Norman.
My thing is that this is only about 2 or 3 years since I came to the United States, so I wasn't very fluent in English. So when they went up in Carousel, I really thought they really had a chance to survive that when they first introduced that, because that's what
I might have thought that the first time I watched it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it was I thought maybe some of them will make it. Not all of them will make it, right? And
Right, well, that's one of the things you discover through watching the movie, though, is that no one does make it. They're all just executed in their tricks.
Yeah.
And
for the scenery, all the special effects of that city. Just one little tidbit on technical parts. It looks like a symmetrical city, right? The model should be like symmetrical.
right.
For the camera work, they actually made the background a little different in size. So it's not a symmetrical city in a model. Model actually is a little bit smaller. So when you zoom into it, it gives you the
Dimension.
Yeah, the extra, what do you call it, foreground, the extra foreground. So it's a pretty ingenious tactic they used to make that city look real. So at the time, I mean, everybody, wow about Star Wars, but at the time, I wish Logan's Run had about 2 or 3 years for us to absorb it.
And all practical effects, too.
Yeah, to absorb it, to appreciate what it has introduced.
You mean before Star Wars came and erased everyone's memory of it?
Yes.
Right.
It was so overshadowed that it got put. And there's 2 sequel books that they could have made great movies out of, by the way.
Yes, I was talking about the sequels too before this. Yeah, and so and it's great. And you get that carousel, everyone's dying. They go chase a runner down, and the guys, this is where you get the introduction of something called Sanctuary, which is something most of the Sandmen don't know about.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of symbolism in this with Caroline, with the Ankh, the Egyptian symbol for life, everlasting life, stuff like that. But when they're hunting him down, they're doing it so callously, and they're kind of doing it evil. They're playing with him like a cat plays with a mouse. They're making him run. They're shooting around him and not purposely shooting him. So they're exterminating him in their own terms, is what they say. But they're doing it in a very mean, bullyish way.
Like high school kids again.
Yes.
But that I don't know if this is part of what you wanted to talk about, but that sort of goes back to their rearing, because it's clear that they're not reared by mothers and fathers. When they talk to the old man, and he did, right. and Jenny Aguilar was like, or Jessica Six was like, oh, you had your parents with you. So they had no moral compass. They were all hedonistic, totally.
Right. They're all bought rate.
Didn't feel good. Doesn't matter. That's why they have the circuit with the people in
the baby at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
wow.
Because that is what their goals is, and that's part of the control, right? You don't question, you just have a good time, and that's it. You're good.
And there's elements in it they don't even tell you about, right? They have sex all the time. No one's ever pregnant, so they must all be sterilized at birth, but they use their cells to create the new babies in the pods, because that's and they're born implanted. But they're living this lifestyle. No one's pregnant, and there's no consequences for any of your actions unless you don't want to commit to last day. Because even the cubs who are born violent, they don't even murder them. They just put them in a different part of the city and say, all right, that's where they are.
Yeah.
Naomi, you had something?
Thought just occurred to me. This thought just occurred to me. No, disrespectful life makes you wonder if they really believe in, when you're young, you think you're immortal, right?
Right.
So, do they really believe in that? That is a final thing. I mean, do they really believe that? They don't have the concept of death, or I'm a religious man, but do they have a really concept of life could be just ending, right? And if they have no respect for that possibility, then
right, because they believe in reincarnation.
Do this, and I'm wondering if these high school shooters, right? These young kids going out there and shooting other young kids. I wonder if these kids have in their mindset yet the finality of their action. Do they really grasp that concept where that could be just final, right? Maybe they don't have that particular concept in their mind, so they are willing to be brutal and killing people, and anyway, that thought just occurred to me.
When they terminate runners,
talking about this.
When they terminate runners, the conversation is like, why would they run when they can be renewed?
Right.
So they have a concept of death as finality, because they even said, hey, now you're done, because we got you with the blaster. And so that is where I started to think, hey, why are they running, right? So that's the first part where you're like, okay, something's going on here that's not on the up and up.
And they don't think of the Sandman. Don't think of exterminating, because this is even said once he meets the Jenny Agutter character, Jenny 6, right? She goes, they were killed. And he goes like, why would you use that term? And she goes, you killed him. I exterminated him. I've never killed anybody.
Yeah,
I think
so. And this movie uses terminology very cleverly. Renew is reincarnation, right? Last day is just death, but they use a lot of trick terms, which they use to trick the masses into the blind faith of what this computer system's putting out.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, to me, it seems like they are indoctrinated in a cult of materialism. They have no spirituality. They live in a vacuum. And skipping ahead to what happens later in the movie, when they discover a larger world and they discover different concepts of human connection, which is the beginning of some kind of development beyond pure materialism, although the movie doesn't take it all the way. But that's that's why where they live looks like a mall, and
exactly. It's by design, a brilliant design of the world too. I thought
very sterile environment. Yeah,
and we should mention the clever costume designs too. Like the costumes, except for the Sandman, you knew who they were instantly upon sight, which was a great idea. Simple costume, instantly recognizable, and everyone had clothes on that represented what their palm gem was.
What their life clock.
Which then represents their age and how long.
Yeah, Palm Flower was the novel. Life Clock was the movie. Yeah.
And yes, but we go forward to after this, and he's in his apartment and he's looking for a companion for the night. And I was talking with Damien about this backstage, and this is another part of the movie where it's progressive. His first choice is a guy. He goes by him. He ends up picking Jenny Agutter, and then when she doesn't want to,
right.
Then when she doesn't want to sleep with him, he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. Do you prefer women?" And it's not making fun of anything. It's just this is the society they live in. They don't care. They're just
and they could change their face anytime.
Yeah,
their appearances.
Well, and they don't. And that was a missed opportunity too. Well, not missed opportunity, but like. You have a feeling that they're also genetically altered in some way, because they have all these advancements which people that young wouldn't be able to do unless they're kind of engineered that way, right?
Right.
They had the comics. As a matter of fact, I got so into the movie. I buy comic books at the time with the bottles. So for me to buy 2 comic books would be unheard of. 2 same comic books, right? But when the movie came out, I got so into it that I bought actually 2 Logan's Run #1. That's unheard of for me to do it at that age, but I did it.
But it was a fantastic investment.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was.
It's worth
Not
some.
monetarily, certainly,
Only
as
issue
far
number
as-
6 is worth anything because of the Thanos story. Which
Oh,
is
I didn't care about issue
not
number
good in
6.
the
I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
But I love those
That's
7 issues.
That's probably why, a lot of people know the run. Other than
Right.
that, maybe a lot of people
Yeah.
wouldn't.
Well, I was glad. That's the great thing about being a niche collector. When I bought all 7 issues, it was dirt cheap. I got them.
Yep.
I read them. I love them.
Yeah,
And
just
yes,
as an aside, that is brilliant George Perez storytelling in those comics.
yes.
Yes.
Looking back on it, I was amazed. This is early in his career, and it was fantastic.
Exactly, Paulo.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely genetically engineered because they take the DNA and, who knows what they do to alter it, make them more docile or more, less rebellious. And apparently that doesn't work all that well because there were like 1,000 runners or something. So.
Right. And 1,056.
Yeah.
And regardless of how many, how much they're hooking up with each other, there's never mention of pregnancy in this movie at all.
No.
But then the runner that Logan terminates, he finds the Ankh and he turns that in, and then he's tasked by the, I can't remember the main computer's name at the moment because I'm old and I'm on the spot, so I'm instantly blanking.
I think it was just, I don't think it had a name, Gary. I think the Thinker was in the novel.
The Thinker was the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But so
Are we in
he's
the?
tasked with finding out what Sanctuary is. And this is when you actually start seeing a shift in who he is, because as soon as his life clock is changed and the computer he finds out that no one's ever renewed, which makes him question the faith right there. Like, I've been believing in this and nobody gets renewed. And this was great acting on Michael York's part because you could see the expression in his face. You could see his belief system changing in the way he was acting. And then he finds out that not only is there not renewal, he's just had all his remaining days taken away and tasked with finding and he's and at the beginning he's kind of a mix, right? He gets with Jenny Agutter again, calls her back, and the conversation they have is brilliant because she's not falling for it. Oh, I suppose I'm just the most beautiful girl in the world. You couldn't do anything without me. She goes, why don't you tell me why I'm really here? Which I really thought was great writing for her character and delivered fine by her because she called him out on it right away. What's your agenda? I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
And then he's like, it's different. Don't you understand? It's me.
Yeah, that part was brilliantly acted by Aguilar because, everybody else was sort of lambish and sheepish and not her. She's always like suspicious of the Sandman because of what their roles are.
Right.
And then, when, like you said, when he goes to the computer, she takes away the years from the life clock. And then he actually is trying to say, hey, but I'll get them back, right? And the computer, silent.
Exactly.
Nothing.
And that's where it starts to get a little ominous, right? You can feel the dread in the Logan character.
But I think that the computer was trying to motivate him to run and probably in the back of his mind, he knew, oh, I'm toast here because the computer's not going to want him come back,
Yeah, I don't know if the computer has it once or not.
And then you see him hiding his life clock.
Yeah.
I have
We're supposed to make the connection between letting computers run your society and ending up with this soulless society.
Right.
It might, on paper, it all makes sense. Have everyone die at 30 and raise them genetically controlled and all of that. But then you get the society that has.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, Paulo. Exactly that. Yeah.
I'm only, again, I'd like to mention that I'm getting introduced to American culture at this time. And one of the things that before I watched Logan's Run, I got introduced to this family. I'm half, my friend Joe, he was half Native American, half white. And they always would invite me like on Christmas days and stuff. And on their second Christmas, they have the younger sister, right? And they were ready to tell her that Santa is not real. And the whole family was just stressed about revealing to her that Santa is not real, right?
Right.
And this was a really strange culture to me because, Santa not being real was already. I've known that since I was like when I was born. I think. I mean,
Right.
My mom gave me Christmas presents when I was in Korea, but I always knew that Santa was not real, right? But they had to break it to her that Santa is not real, and the whole family was stressing about this. And when Logan was finding out that his world is not where he thought it was, right?
Right.
I mean, Susan was the girl that she passed away
Dispelled the
already.
myth.
But Susan she was crying and she was just bawling out. And when I saw that movie about a year later after that event, I go, "Oh wow, Logan's going through what Susan's going through."
Well, us Americans are traumatized by finding out Santa's not real, and it affects everything else we do ever since.
See, that never. It was like, yeah, whatever. Santa's not real. I already figured that out when I was like 6. But well, in the book, the runner that they kill in the beginning is Jennifer Six's brother, and that's not the case in the movie. But you see her meet up with him, and she's actually tasked with, after he confesses to her that it's different now because it's him, and he wants to live, he wants to run. He's the same as her now, and he's showing her his life clock, and she's meeting with them, telling them about, like, she's bringing him out for his execution, and then she ends up kind of tagging along with him, and she starts feeling for his plight. And the Jenny Six character is the most advanced character in the movie because she's already figuring out that he's been duped. And this is all done without dialogue, without exposition, just through the acting, just through the story. She's putting all these pieces together that none of these others are doing. That he's not necessarily evil. He was bought into a system that he didn't know any better. And she's able to find compassion in that for him and then try to help him out. She ends up falling for him, but she chooses to help him run. They meet the Cubs. That goes as it goes. They go for what's the Renew place where they give you a new face and cosmetic surgery. They're investigating. That's when Francis is back onto them. And you start seeing the division of the friendship there between him and Francis. Now, he doesn't want to kill Francis. He fires a bunch of warning shots, but doesn't shoot Francis himself.
Yeah.
And Francis...
He acted like a stormtrooper.
No, he was purposely not killing Francis. The Francis was purposely trying to give his friend, because he couldn't understand why his friend would choose to go, trying to give him a chance to come back too. But then we get to the other interesting part of the movie. After he chooses to run, after she chooses to help him and not lead him to his execution and defend him, and they get to the outside, not to the outside world yet, but they're starting to go through the underground parts of the city, right, where you see the fish hatcheries and stuff like this, but there's no supplies there, right? It's all empty. And they finally get to Box.
Yeah.
And, Roscoe Lee Brown, and, what a great voice that guy has, right?
Fabulous.
But you get to Box, and Box pretty much instantly lets them know that Sanctuary is not a thing, because they ran out of supplies a long time ago for that city. And a lot of what they're eating is people that were running the Sanctuary that he's frozen now. So anyone that even makes it out is just already being killed again and then repurposed as food.
Soy green.
I didn't think they were eating them.
Soy green.
And when I watched it on my big screen TV, I did see fish in the tanks.
Okay, I didn't see the fish on my, but I'll have to look again. I believe you though. But no, he said that they were protein.
Protein, plankton, sea. What is it?
Yeah,
Seagrass.
well, I'll have to look at that again. I'm not sure. I didn't interpret it that way, but
so they're reusing those people as food for the city.
Yeah, it's like Soylent Green all over again.
And the only reason they're able to escape him is because he's a runner and he has his pistol with him.
Yeah, he has the blaster. So,
but then if that were the case, then the mastermind computer would want people to run so that they could use them as Soylent Green. because the bodies in the carousel are wasted. They're blown up.
Yep.
You know what? I realize we have so much faith in that AI will become a superhuman intelligent things, right? This our society now. But I realize in science fiction, back in the old days, we could always trick those AIs. We could always outsmart them, right?
Just a little bit of something going against their programming and they explode.
Right. We could always trick those AIs. Right now, we totally have faith in these AIs that will dominate us.
You know, but I was thinking about that, right? I was thinking, I'm not going to spoil the end yet, but I was thinking about that. And remember, they're killing everybody before they reach 30. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of technical knowledge there. So things are probably in disrepair all over the place. Like Box. Box was, he took his job and he took it to some other kind of level that you wouldn't think a computer would make necessarily. But obviously he was just disturbed, just totally off the wall. And that's why, that's part of the when I was talking about the underbelly of this, experience. There's no magical way for you to reproduce that, right? Experience. Speaking from somebody who's almost 60, if you cut me off at 30, you're cutting off half my life. This last 30 is when I've really, really matured. Before that, I was just trying to get to 30. So this whole society being dead at that point means that they're losing a whole lot of what life really means, and including how to improve.
Especially because those 30s are kept, those people up to the age of 30 are kept in a very immature state.
Right. Especially it's exacerbated.
You're totally mature from the beginning, because when I was 20, I want to stay 20. When I was 30, I want to stay 30. I didn't want to get anywhere near 60s.
Well, I think as you get older, no matter what age you are, your awareness at that age makes you want to stay at that age, because you don't want to give up any of the knowledge you have. You don't want to give up any of the experiences you've had.
Yeah, or you don't have to give up any vigor you had and all that stuff.
Right. And I thought one of the cool things in this too was just once mortality is introduced to Logan 5, all bets are off with his belief systems. Everything starts changing for him. Once he's faced with once he finds out he can't renew and he's faced with actual death, that's it. He everything's questioned. And once they survive Box, and Box wasn't necessarily evil, like Roger was saying, Box was just running his program. It's his program to provide food, and he's doing that in whatever way he can.
Right.
Plus doing his ice sculpture.
Right. And then you get the revelation, right? When they come out and you don't realize that they've never seen the sun until they see it.
Right.
You just assume they know, but they don't. They get out there and it's just the outside is this revelation to both characters.
That really shows how ignorant they have been kept. They just don't even know anything about the planet they live on.
Because it was a dome. Remember, they were the city of domes. I mean, in the novel, it was the whole planet, but here it's just a city of domes. They can't see out
about the world.
Yeah.
And there's a greater analogy there, right? They were sort of kept in the dark,
Right, and that's the cult mentality of the movie to me, right? It's just you're in this one spot. This is the only way to do it. You follow your cult. You don't question the cult. You do what the cult tells you, and that's it.
Now we say a lot, hey,
in the bubble,
you're thinking inside the box. They were
only kept in the bubble, guys.
Once they got outside and saw the light, all of a sudden they saw the light.
They were born to think inside the box, right, Roger?
Right.
Not that bubble. What bubble are you in, guys? What bubble are you in?
Right.
And it's even funny too, because you still have Francis chasing them, because he still believes, even once Francis gets outside and sees it all, it doesn't change his belief system at all.
No.
He is the social duty aspect of the movie, right? Where everything is just about him fulfilling his need to this cult that he's grown up in.
Right.
Yeah, he hasn't gone to step 2 yet, though.
Right, and
he's incapable of taking in new information. He's so indoctrinated.
Yeah.
And then each scene after that, it's just a dismantling of the beliefs for Logan, right? I mean, when they come up, when they sit down and Phil did it earlier, and when the lizard's crawling on Jenny Agutter, lucky little lizard, and she's like, I hate it. I hate the outside.
I hate
But then they end up embracing it. She had to adjust to it. Then they're swimming in the pool, the pond. They don't really come across any other real wildlife that's a threat. But I thought it was funny when they saw cats.
That's when they got baptized into
cats.
New World.
And then you thought about it, and you didn't see any pets in the city. There was no animal life.
Mm-mm.
So the cats were something new to them. And here's this old, strange guy that's half off his cracker, and and surrounded by cats. But even though he's half gone, he's still teaching them valuable lessons, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Peter Ustinov was just fabulous in that role. I mean,
Yes.
he was so good. So, I mean,
It was
you
brilliant.
can think about, right, his situation. He was obviously born from his mother and father. Somehow they survived the war and the disease and all that stuff. Somewhere he was sheltered, but not so sheltered that he didn't know about the outside world.
Right.
Oh man, that was
And
so
he
fun.
happened to be in Library of Congress, guys.
And he would speak in rhyme. He would speak in rhyme. So, it's like in his head, way of communicating. And notice that he was kind of mumbly.
Yeah.
Ustinov actually has a very, very exacting voice. And he did that on purpose because he hadn't talked to people in who knows how long. So he didn't know
Right,
how
he wouldn't know how to interact.
Yeah.
And and then you see them learning new concepts, right? Like mothers, fathers, children,
Burying your dead.
burial ceremony,
Wife, beloved husband.
right? And they even
the concept of having a pet.
A pet, yes.
Well, and through the Logan and Jennifer character too, you see the development, which you never saw in the city, right? Of real emotions for each other. It's not just about a physical relationship. They're actually falling in love and discovering something new, which wasn't a part of that city.
Jennifer died back over there at the City of Domes. Jessica survived.
Yeah. Yes, sorry.
Jennifer is Farrah Fawcett, by the way, guys.
Farrah Fawcett,
That's
right? We'll call her
because-
Jennifer.
The actress's name and the character's name are so close to each other.
Yeah.
There. Oh yeah, but
Jenny Agutter, yeah.
But it was it was great to see that I thought they were doing it clever. They didn't hit you over the head with it. It was all little subtle things with them just having experiences that they hadn't had before. And you can see them changing as people. And even as they're discovering this and as they're talking to the character, and then when Jessica 6 is all of a sudden missing, and then you see the reintroduction of Francis out there, and he's still hell-bent on bringing Logan back. He's not trying to kill Logan right away. He's still trying. He still has a friend's commitment to him. He's still trying to save his friend, which I thought was a hard part to play, which I thought Jordan nailed.
Yeah, great. Yeah, again, even though they didn't have a lot of moral compass, they still had friendships. They still had relationships, and that bond that they had. I mean, obviously they've been working together for a long time. And Francis 7, although he drank the Kool-Aid, he still had an affinity for his friend. He couldn't get past the indoctrination, but he also had just that little bit of humanity that you just cannot eradicate.
That's not a lot, a little bit. That's a lot.
But even when they had their final fight and he gets beaten to death it was a fun fight, but when he gets critically injured by getting whooped with that flagpole and he's kind of a little bit out of it and he sees the life clock, he's happy for his friend. Oh, you renewed. Congratulations. And then he passes. So you can see that you still feel bad for that character, even though he's clearly villainous in most aspects. But in other aspects, there's a nobility about him that you can admire.
Yeah, agreed.
So they did good at just not making paper cutter bad guys and good guys. Like a lot of science fiction movies fall into that trope. They're either all bad or all good. And there was just like levels to the characters, which you appreciate, especially when you're older and you're rewatching this movie. You appreciate the concepts they put in there, and that nobody was all good or all bad. It was just all based on this false system that was implemented on them when they were young.
Yeah, can you say really the computer is evil? Computer is not evil.
It's the
either
tool.
evil or good, right?
But we don't know who programmed the computer. We don't know. There
I was
isn't a
gonna
lot of background about
I mean,
what
they may
say
have a good intention too. They may have a good
effect
intention
of the
too.
computer is
Right?
evil. The computer doesn't have free will.
Right.
What the result of letting the computer run things ends up in evil.
And I think there's a whole prequel there about the setting up of that computer in that society. There's a whole prequel that could be written or made about that, right?
Yep.
But I thought, oh, go ahead, Damien.
If I were going to remake the movie, the one thing I would want to be done better is more of a sense of the computer and that underlying decay of the way the computer is running the city or something. And that would set up the ending for me a little better when the computer goes
amoral is the term.
Yeah. I would have liked to know a little bit more about, how that society was set up. I mean, a novel, you get a little bit more, but it was sort of sprung on you at the movie, about that.
What I see is that's a very small dome city, right? In the scale wise, I see them as very small.
Maybe 100,000.
I see other dome cities.
They were thousands, and they have the maze car that goes through all the different, domes and stuff. So
I'm wondering about those other dome cities and how these people who have freed themselves from the dome city, how they gonna go and reach out to those other bubbles? How are we gonna reach into those other bubbles? That's what I like. That's what I want to answer.
that would have been a good thing to do in this comic book, but they didn't go in that direction.
Right. And the thing, I thought the only cliche trope that was in this movie was when they went back with the Peter Ustinov character, and they immediately get captured again because of course nobody's going to believe them when the Sandman are going to come and beat them into submission. Was that the computer gets overloaded because it can't process his thoughts. Yeah. I'm like, all right, this is the only cliche part, because there wasn't a good way to beat the computer. So that was it. It couldn't process the information being given to them by Logan 5, and it completely dismantles whatever's left of the programming of that computer.
Yeah, whoever programmed the computer couldn't accept that there wasn't somewhere these people actually were going to be. It was just a manifestation of their hope.
Right.
And the computer can't understand that manifestation.
Back in those days, computer didn't know how to divide by zero.
So, at that point, it's sort of like in a loop. It's like, oh, well, hold on. I know that there has to be a sanctuary, but there can't be a sanctuary because he's not lying. So it's sort of like just round and round and round and round.
Back in those days, computer didn't have a fault tolerance. Okay.
And this is exactly what happened in every 70s and 80s science fiction or barbarian movie, right? If you kill the big bad, its castle crumbles instantly.
Right.
Whether it's a sword and sorcery movie, a science fiction movie, all of a sudden, whatever happened magically after causes everything to collapse.
Yeah.
I have a problem with today's thinking that we have such total faith in computer system. I'm a computer engineer, so I have problem with this. Okay, let's say I'm in a garage, and what computer does is monitor your in and out entry, and they charge you by you coming in and you're going out, right? And it has to match. If you come in, you must exit. Right. So I came in, and because there's a cheating system going on, when computer comes up with a scheme, people will cheat. You have a puck, so people will take the puck and exit, not realizing the computer will monitor in and out, right? So when people ask me about my pucks, because I know this thing, I tell them, no, you cannot borrow my puck.
Right.
It's going to monitor my in and out, and eventually it will detect if I have exited the system or not, or I have extra entry into the system. So knowing this, I never let anyone borrow my puck, right? I exit the system. and computer says, "Hey, you had 2 entries, no exit." I go, "No, I did not. I never let no one borrow my puck." So there's no way I cheated the system. Guy walks out of the out of the little room. Computer tells me that you try to cheat your system with the friends. I'm going, what friends? What? I don't let no one borrow my pucks. There's no way I could have cheated this system. The computer messed up. Accept the fact computer messed up. The guy doesn't believe me. Guy only believes that people cheat.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And
there are glitches, man. There are glitches all the time.
Computer glitch.
They
Computer
glitch.
program glitch.
Yeah.
But they don't accept that computer. I mean, me versus my word versus computer. They will accept computer.
Is your life clock flashing? I think Phil's asking.
Right.
No.
And whenever you watch this movie at different stages of your life, you're gonna find new things in it to enjoy. Now, as we near like wrapping it up and stuff,
You're clear. You're renewed.
right? When you guys watched it when you were young, as opposed to watching it again recently, what was the biggest differences you guys noticed for yourselves in the rewatch? Go ahead, Roger. We'll start with you.
Wow. Well, I rewatched it, I guess, about a week ago. My wife was working late, and I said, let me give it another watch. And I think, Gary, what I really focus on, I think you mentioned, is that how brilliantly acted this film was. I mean, sometimes when you think science fiction, you're sort of think they're kind of people, and you're focused more on the effects, but really the effects were just a kind of an accoutrement here.
Correct.
The Francis Seven, like you said, was a great villain that kind of had anti-hero qualities to him. Jessica Six was not a vapid and kind of flighty female. No, she was somebody who had goals, who had moral compass. Even though the society that she was in was trying to rip that out of her, she still believed, in life, and still in helping people.
It wasn't afraid to question.
Yep. Yeah. And of course you had Michael York, which I thought his acting was okay. At the end, I think it got much better when he started realizing, hey, I just can't leave. I have to go back and tell people that sanctuary isn't right, because otherwise people will keep running and just keep dying.
Right.
So his
sense of duty to people.
Yeah, his character grew, and I think his acting also grew, especially at the end there, where he's like, "Carousel's a lie, Sanctuary's a lie." That was great.
Because you thought at the beginning, you're like, "Oh, this guy's kind of a dick, and he's the major focal point of this movie."
Yep.
And then by the end, you like him.
Yep.
You like him. You're invested in him, just like the Jenny Agutter character, Jenny Six is, right? You're on his side. Damien, what about you? What were the major takeaways from you watching it when you first saw it to now?
Yeah, so when I first watched it, other than the stuff we talked about before, I just thought it was a really cool science fiction movie, right? Of the sort that I was used to back then, like Planet of the Apes and all of that. And very exciting. But I guess in my old age, I view it as a movie about growing up and taking responsibility. When they get out of the city, everything's difficult and hard, and I want to go back to the city. But eventually things have more meaning. The struggles of adult life give things meaning, as opposed to sort of at least the fantasy of your high school kind of life, especially if you can add in unlimited sex the way they had.
Right. But, and it was just vapid and had no meaning at all.
Right. And so I felt that, and then I felt it also, it was a very metaphorical movie, and I just felt layers of metaphor. So there was that about growing up. I also felt like there was a metaphor of like the Hollywood lifestyle versus real people's lifestyle.
Right.
Because in a way, the city was also like the Hollywood lifestyle, with all the naked people running around and stuff. And that may seem attractive at first, but again, it is kind of vapid and leaves you empty. And also the coming out of the 60s, like the whole, dying at age 30, right? That ties into the whole don't trust anyone over 30.
And the free love aspect of the movie too.
Right. And the 60s kind of led into the disco era where it was just meaningless sex and snorting cocaine or something. That's what I thought.
Nightclubs, yeah.
And nobody in this movie had jobs except for a few designated in the society, right? So you had the Sandman. Everyone else just kind of existed. You had the people that ran the shops, but you kind of figured that they were engineered to do that.
Right. So I think, like, as a kid, I thought it was a celebration of the 70s. But now as an adult, I feel it as a criticism of the 70s. So that was interesting to me. And,
right. It had a lot more social commentary than you realize when you watch it when you're young.
Yep.
And I took for granted how good the actors were again. So similar to Roger's comment.
You do, because when you're young, you're just looking for a good sci-fi yarn.
Jenny Agatar. Sorry?
I was saying, yeah, because when you're young, you're just looking for a good sci-fi yarn, right? You're looking for fun and adventure, and
it works on that. So it has all these layers, which is just really cool, which I didn't notice.
Right, and I think, and like I said, when I watch it now, it's even more amazing to me now. I enjoy it even more now than I did before, and I just think it holds up, regardless of people that want to take shots at the effects, which I don't understand. Like, you're missing the theme of the movie if you're taking a shot at the effects. Because if you're watching the movie, you're really getting lost in this complicated story that they got going on. If you're paying attention, there's a lot of levels there.
Well, when you're watching a movie, you can't say, why isn't it like a movie made in 2010? It has to be a movie. There's no way it can be anything but a movie made in 1976. So
right.
It could.
And again, this is one of those perfect movies. Right? It's a movie of its time. It hasn't been remade. How would you even remake it and have it be as effective as it was then? Could they do it? Probably.
It would have to have different set of meanings now than it would then.
Right.
They remade it.
I mean, they did do the TV show, which is sort of more based on the second book, but the
TV show I like too, but
that's a whole nother stream there.
It is. Well, we could definitely talk about that someday too.
Show kind of the beginning, the pilot of the TV show kind of rewrites a lot of stuff.
A lot of it,
It does. And in like 10 minutes, it does it.
yeah. And it takes away a lot of things. But anyway, go ahead, Naman.
Okay. Naman, so what was different for you watching it now as opposed to before?
I had a bad experience watching old movies that I thought was great and watched it again. I had a really bad experience. Let me tell you my experience. Remember 2001?
Mm-hmm.
I watched it. I thought it was the greatest movie ever, right? And I tell my kids, you gotta watch. If you like movies, you gotta watch 2001. Okay, and so I started watching 2001 with my kids, and because I'm so used to watching fast-paced movies, 2001 movie, I did not sync with the 2001 movies. I fell asleep in 2001 movie. And my kids still give me a hard time about that movie, even to this day, right? And so I decided when I watch Logan's Run, when you asked me, you invited me for this discussion, I decided to watch 2001. I mean, the Logan's Run movie, like people from with the social media. I decided to watch movies with someone else's reaction. Those
right.
I just pick a random YouTube channel, that does oh, this is my first time watching Logan's Run, and that's how I watched it through him. I watched through that person.
Was it Perry Gaming?
Huh?
Was it Perry Gaming? Because Perry,
I don't know. He was a random guy. He wasn't a big guy.
Perry watches movies that I've seen like 20 times, and he just sees them for the first time.
Yeah, but I just watched it through. I didn't want to pick any particular.
Did you see the movie, or you just listened to him talk about it?
Yeah, I just listened. He will show some clips and stuff, and I go, okay, I remember that.
Watch the whole movie again.
But it was about an hour and a half YouTube video, because he was watching it. He was reacting to it.
Right. But you haven't watched the whole movie then. You might have a different experience.
Yeah.
because
Well,
I think the
movie through
pacing.
him. I watched the movie through him.
Yeah, this
And,
is not a slow-paced movie. For as long as it is
No.
kicking one
No.
second after
Yeah, you're
another.
not
No,
gonna fall
I'm just
asleep.
admitting to
That's
that.
good.
I'm just admitting to it because I had a really bad experience with the 2001. I didn't want to go through that and tell you guys that, hey, this is the best movie ever, and then I'm the first one to fall asleep on it. You know what I mean? So, but way I remember the movie. I mean, I I have a different appreciation for the movie now, right? I think Sleepy Reader allude to it, but you know, is it really right for us to, I told you about Susan when we told her that there's no Santa Claus. Is it really right for us to tell her that there is no Santa Claus? You know, is it really, if these people really believed in, the what's his name, dying thinking that his friend
Yeah, renewed.
his friend rejuvenated, he died happy. He kind of died happy. That guy kind of died happy, right? Eventually, whether you're that old man with the cat dying, or you're a 30-year-old man who's dying because what you believe came true, is it, why are we taking his happiness away? I mean, isn't it really answer is that we die happy rather than we are going, oh, I'm dying and I'm sad.
Well, I think though, if you die happy being ignorant, I don't think you really lived a life.
Well, besides
You
all
know,
that,
I mean, if
besides
you
all
just
that,
want to die
that's
happy, there's plenty of people that do drugs that do
that's,
that.
Yeah.
that's a philosophy you're saying.
Just do
That's
heroin
a
and die
philosophy
happy.
you're saying that, okay, maybe we want to be more knowledgeable and maybe we want to be, but is that, you also have to ask a question, is it really worth the knowledge? Is it our knowledge?
I think so, because you're never fully aware. I'm someone that I'd rather be fully aware and die
Okay,
a
I
little less
understand
happy.
what you rather be, but I'm just posing a question.
No, it's a good question. I'm just speaking on it.
Yeah, I'm just posing a question. Is it really worth it? And how do you value that worth? How do you value it?
Right.
Is it like a unit? Is it actual unit to what you think and what I think and what other people think? Do we actually have some comparison that we could make so that, oh, this is greater than the other? Your belief is better than mine, or my belief is better than yours. Do we really have a concrete, objective numbers that we could put to it so that your belief is better than mine, right? Or my belief is better than yours? Do we actually have some scale we could put it on and say, hey, is it dying happy? Is that really that bad? Or do we have to know everything?
I think
That's
when you miss
the
out,
question I pose. But
well, I think when you miss out on over half your life,
yeah, but
dying happy isn't really that important at 30.
spoiler alert, I'm more toward the person who wants to know. Okay, I'm more toward
Right.
the person who wants to know. But I understand wanting to be ignorant too, blissed in ignorance, right? I understand that part. So,
life is made up of a mass of choices. We make, hundreds of choices every day. Francis had a choice, and Logan 5 had a choice. Francis 7 and Logan 5 had choices that they could make. Logan 5 decided, okay, I am not going to just blindly follow this. I'm going to find out for myself. And Francis 7 said, even though I see the same world that Logan 5 sees, I choose to believe the way I did before. So ultimately, it's the choice is up to us, how we want to interpret those things that make us, you say happy, but to me, I say joyful, right? But to live my life the best way that I can, the way that, that my God wants me to, that is my choice, right? I can't make that choice for anybody else. We each are responsible for our own choices, to the detriment and to the positive, right? And that dichotomy was displayed in that movie because they had the actual choice of how they wanted to finish the world, interpret the world. And there was two diverse things, and we're all different. We all have different experiences socially, economically, spiritually, and that came to a head in that scene over in the Capitol.
And the fact that we're having this conversation after watching the movie tells you how effective the movie is.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Is that
you
if
know,
a movie doesn't provoke a question in your head, right? If oh, I like that movie. That was exciting. That was fun. And then you go on with your life. That's one kind of movie, right?
Right.
But if there's a movie that says, "Oh gosh, am I right in thinking this? Am I right in thinking that?" If you are asking these life philosophy questions, maybe you should consider watching these kind of movies where it asks you questions rather than it tells you numbers and say 42 is the universal answer, right? You want a movie that challenges you to think rather than a movie that has answers for you. So that's my thought.
Right, and that's part of the reason I wanted to discuss this movie, because it still brings up questions. It still incites debate. It does what it set out to do effectively. And like we were discussing earlier, it got overshadowed when Star Wars came out by the spectacle. This the story still holds up. The questions it raises still hold up. The situations that come up in this movie still hold up in today's society.
Great.
Well, we don't need to ask Gary if it's one of his favorite movies or not.
Right. The fact that he had the screen tells you, and
I definitely have a passion for this film.
To see what we want, what we think about it. But anyway,
I think you have infected me, Gary, because I maybe watched the movie once or twice since seeing it as a teen, but I don't think I ever gave it a lot of thought till this time around. So thank you.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that.
I don't know. Sometimes I just watch things differently, I guess, where I'm just looking at something else. Like I can appreciate everything that's going on, but I'm also just thinking about everything that is bringing into question, you know? But I have a brain that overworks on that stuff.
Yeah, well, these authors, they can't turn off their brains. They're constantly clicking.
You got to use that word loosely with me.
I mean, for me, I cannot talk like this with the regular crowds, right? This is only a platform where I could talk like this, and people go, maybe he has a point there. I mean, whatever, right? Or I mean,
well, there's a point.
I try to talk like this in the other crowd. They go, "Oh, shut up, man."
Well, there's a reason too, right? When I put this show together, there's a reason I asked somebody like Roger, someone like Damien, someone like you, Naman. We're all people that can have a discussion. We can even have different viewpoints, and we could be okay with it and still be adults about it and not go into hateful territory where some people are not capable of that. I can believe something different than you and still go, man, I still think Naman's awesome. He's a great dude, and I could believe something completely different than you. I could do that with everybody on this panel. Some people can't do that with other people. You either think the way they think or they think you're a jerk.
Yeah.
So you need people that have, to me, accepting minds of others and others' viewpoints. I think that's what creates better discussions than have people that are only shut off and only think things are the way they see them.
I want to mention this in front of you guys. You guys be witness. CJ, Comic Book Journey, right? He and I have a totally different philosophy. Yeah, he and I have totally different philosophy.
Yeah, but you and Nick get along great.
Yeah, but I appreciate the man because I could have a conversation with him, right? He and I disagree on almost everything. I think I lean more toward progressive. He leans more toward conservative, but there's a lot of things I disagree with the man, but he and I still could have a discussion. And that's what, if you are a person that closed down a discussion because I have a certain belief, or I'm closing down a discussion because you have certain belief, then to me, that's the person that I don't want to be associated with. I want to associate with the person that I could have discussion with, whether they believe in what I believe or I don't believe in what they believe, or whatever, right?
But and you don't grow as a person if you only ever talk to people that think the same thing as you.
Same as you.
Yeah, I think we need to talk to people who's outside of my bubble. I need to talk to someone outside of my bubble, and everybody else need to talk to a person outside of their bubble, right? So,
But you need your delusion too. But you also need a delusion to live by.
Yeah, I need a little delusion myself. I mean, I don't.
My delusion is that I'm going to read all my comic books before I die.
Well, I think that's a delusion we all share.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I can relate to that
Pretty close.
delusion.
That's the common ground here, David.
I believe you. I believe you.
Gora, I hope you watch it in a rewind. I think we had a great discussion. So did any of you have anything in closing that you wanted to say before we sign off? Or you think we pretty much covered what we needed to cover?
Well, I think I just want to say this, Gary, and because we were talking about something about the effects. Listen, the City of Domes, it's a miniature. I mean, you said it still holds up. It's so, but I think that in this movie, unlike, a lot of the heavy, like Star Wars and that heavy special effects movie, you have to focus on the story. If you focus on the story, this film will go like this.
Yes,
it'll be over before you know it. If you start thinking like Nitpicker's Guide, then you're really missing the point. Try to put your own your own mind into what these characters were going through and the background that they had to overcome to get to the point that they did at the end. Once you do that, I think you're going to have a great appreciation and a much more enjoyable watch than trying to just say, oh, well, those guns are just little sparkles. That's sort of missing the point of the movie.
Right, because that's not the focus of what this movie is about at all. And the commentary in this movie is still amazing to this day. But all right, I guess we'll wrap up and we'll go around the horn here, see what everyone's got coming up. Naaman, we'll start with you, sir. What's coming up with you in the recent week?
I'm making less videos lately, but I recently made a video about my experience with Roger at Koch Comic Warehouse, and
I love that video.
I still have to watch it. It's in my queue.
Good.
Harry, if you've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they store the Ark at the end in that voluminous warehouse.
Yeah.
Just put that comics. That's where it is.
I really enjoy thankful that Roger asked, he's the one who suggests that we go there. And I'm thankful that it was an hour and a half subway ride, plus minus getting lost and stuff, 15 minutes of getting lost and stuff.
For the chorus over here,
But I love that place. I'm envious of Roger that he's going back a month later. I'm not able to, but I love that place. I love Mr. Koch. Roger, he was able to go everywhere. He just, I gotta see this, I gotta see that, and I'm stuck at the $2 bin place. And I cannot leave that place. I have to pick out.
Here's more.
And Mr. Koch, I just sat down on the floor, man. I just sat down on the floor. I was looking through it. Mr. Koch gave me one bag. Hey, here's another $2 books. You could put it into the bin, or you could, pick out the books you want. I picked up the books I want. I put it in the bin for him. Then he gave me another one. I just gave that. So I got stuck in one place. Roger was everywhere. But that was an amazing place. I really enjoyed that place, and I made a video about it. So yeah, come.
And you had the right company to go with. How could you not enjoy going someplace with Roger? Right?
You had Roger to explain things, and he's walking by. I go, hey Roger, what's this book about? He goes, yeah, that's the second appearance of.
He's always testing me.
See, that was good for Roger because he knew he got all right. Naman's there. I'm gonna go look around. I'll come back in a few hours and just pick him up, like the kid at daycare.
I'll just wait, and then hey, let's go.
So when
Now,
you
Roger,
go
what's
next
coming
month,
up for
Roger,
you,
are you
sir?
going with someone else? Are you going with Tony or some?
I'm gonna see if I can get a hold of Comic Journey because he was supposed to go with us, but he had a family
the
matter.
three of us supposed to go.
So I'd like to see if we can go with him.
Life happens in your life, and
We'll have a good time with Nick. Nick's a good guy.
I also met Why Not Art Tony. I know Damien, you know him from way back.
The old he used to be on YouTube a lot, but stopped a while back.
Yeah, really, really nice gentleman. So I
now here recognize Roger's voice.
Yeah, he recognized my voice from the next dial over. I was like, wow, that's impressive. So yeah, I also did a video today, a much briefer tour than Nauman's on the Koch warehouse because he had ads back in the 80s in I think Comics Buyer's Guide or something. And he used to put something like 1 million comics. And I was like, as a kid, I was like, I want to go there. I want to go there so bad. And here it is 40 years later. And I moved to Jersey and here I am. So I was in awe of Mr. Koch, but, he didn't know it, but I was. I shook his hand and I was like trembling,
Yeah, I was really surprised how much a discount he gave me at the end.
Yeah, he was
fabulous. Because it was $2 per book at that place. 30% off. That's $1.40 per book, right? And I bought $3 books and $5 books on top of that, right?
Yeah, he just
$48.
He just makes up and let's take it for this, I
counted $60. That's $1.25 per book. He didn't even charge me $1.40 per book. He charged me $1.25 per book.
Yeah, he was.
So he's not in it for the money. He spent all that time with you, even though you weren't high roller.
Yeah, he actually gave me books. Pick up from here, and I went, okay.
You can tell he has a love for the medium and for the people that love it, and he just wanted to give us the best deal he could.
Nice.
So,
Damien, what's coming up for you, bud?
Well, I've gotten back to doing my comic book countdown, so I've got these books to read. So hopefully by Monday or so, I will do my countdown video on these. So that's the next thing. I have misplaced a camera. As soon as I find that camera, I'm going to do what am I going to do? I'm gonna do some videos about my artist editions. So it's a camera that will tilt down and flip the image for me. And I don't know how I've misplaced a camera, but I have. That's the old age going on. But so that will be coming eventually. I was going to start with my Enemy Ace artist edition.
Cool.
Oh, nice Kubrick stuff.
Nice.
Yes, it's all Kubrick.
Yeah.
All right, coming up for me. So tomorrow I'm on the YouTubes twice. So I'll look forward to getting trolled by Jackson Roykirk for that because he's already accusing me of being everywhere. But at 7 o'clock I'm on K-Pop Junkies channel, so I'll be over with Katie and talking about Need and promoting that. Then at 9 o'clock on my channel, I'm going to have Milt on, and we are doing a Howard the Duck retrospective from Milt, the super fan. So I'm going to ask Milt questions. He's going to talk about Howard the Duck, and we're just going to have a lot of fun. So it's going to be enjoyable.
How's the Need doing? How's the Need sale doing, by the way, Gary?
Huh?
How's the Need doing?
Oh, it's doing well. About 165 copies sold so far.
Ooh, cool.
Very good.
Cool.
So
for an unknown author to sell that many right away, that's good.
I think it was a good launch for me for being an absolute nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
you're far from a nobody.
Anybody. And I'm going to push
very far away from that, my friend.
I got your books on hold because I'm not in Virginia. I got your books on hold. You sent it to me, right?
Yep. Well, I sent you those that you sent me back. They're all signed. They're all in bagged and boarded for the people you got to send them to or whatever. I also sent you the win you got from Joe's channel, and I sent you. Yeah, remember when you won the mystery box from me?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yep, so that's there, and also in that mystery box,
totally.
I enclosed.
He smiles like that. He forgot.
Yeah, I know he did. I'm just not trying to call him out live. And, I also included a signed book for you in there, Norman.
All right, cool. So
But coming up for me tomorrow, like I said, tune in at 7 o'clock on K-Pop's channel. I'm talking Need. Then tune in at my channel at 9 o'clock, where I'm going to have Milt on again. And if you guys have never tuned in watching Milt, super great guy, super nice guy, really knowledgeable, really loves his comics, really has a passion for Howard the Duck. And I want to talk the comics with him. I'm going to talk the movie with him, and we're just going to have a great time. Milt's a really good dude. He's a collector's collector. Milt loves books because he loves books, and he likes Howard the Duck because he just generally likes Howard the Duck. So it's going to be a great conversation. So please tune in for that. And next Tuesday, we have Dope Comics on his second 1011. And then Thursday on In the Hot Seat, we're going to have Cliff. So we got a full couple weeks coming up to end off February. Then we're going to be kicking it right into March, and I got to start scheduling for April here in a minute. Wow. The spots fill up quickly. I can't ever believe it. It's fun. But before we sign off, I owe each and every one of you guys on the panel a thanks. Thank you for coming on the channel. Thanks for having this discussion with me. I wanted to talk about this movie forever. I just didn't ever felt like I had the right people in place to do it until I was able to lock you three in. And then I felt great about it. And I had an absolute blast having this discussion with you three gentlemen tonight. Thank you all very much.
Likewise. It was great. Thank you. Thank you for moving the date for me too, because I was supposed to have it last week, but my wife had an event. So Gary was gracious enough to move it for me. So I feel
I wasn't doing this without you, Roger. That was already in my head.
I'm very honored that you did, because when you say Logan's Run, I was very disappointed that I couldn't be here.
No, as soon as you told me you wouldn't, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to move this. And even though I reached out to Damien and Alvin and said, that bastard, I'm like, guys, it's Roger. We got to give him a break.
Yeah, that's them, all right.
Yeah, we already talked about it. Roger.
No, they were both very nice. They're like, yep, we can do that, and they changed it.
That diva.
But thank you all for your input. You guys' opinions are opinions I value highly, so I really appreciate you coming on. This is the first time I got to stream with Damien. He's effectively avoided me until now, so thank you for finally relenting and coming on, Damien. I appreciate it. But and I want to thank the audience. We had a great audience, and I think this is a show that's going to keep doing well in the rewatch, because Logan's Run, people just love it, just like The Thing. I mean, I did that with that watch with The Thing. That's over 2K views now, and that started out like this. Yeah, but it's not about the views. It's about the friendship and discussion, because only here on YouTube could four of us like this come together and have this conversation and have such a good time. And that's what makes this medium special. Yeah, this is when it works in this way. So thank you guys. Thank you everyone who is watching.
Love you guys. Love you guys. All the chats and the panel.
And if you're watching on the rewind, I appreciate it too. Thank you guys so much. And until next time, keep it casual.